So today we're going to keep on rolling with equations of special lines. We took a look at parallel and perpendicular lines. Today our goal is I can recognize and graph horizontal and vertical lines from their equations. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these. So we've got a horizontal line here on the graph. And you can see from the graph that the slope is 0. Okay, it has no rise, so the slope is 0. And the y-intercept, it crosses through the y-axis at 2. So that means that y equals 0x plus 2, and 0 times x is 0. So the actual equation for that line is just y equals 2. So if I'm going to label that line on the graph with its equation, it's going to be y equals 2. So that's what it looks like to use y equals mx plus b. But there's probably an easier way to find the equations of these types of lines. So all of the y values on that line are always going to be equal to 2. So it doesn't matter which point I choose on that line, the y value is always going to be equal to 2. So really, if y is always equal to 2, then that's the equation, y equals 2. All right, now we're going to take a look at vertical lines. So vertical lines are messier when you're trying to use y equals mx plus b to come up with the equation. Because right off the bat, when we have a vertical line, we say that that slope is undefined. And b is the y-intercept. Well, this line never crosses the y-axis. So there is none. So how are we supposed to use those two words to write the equation? We really don't have any idea there. So this time we have to use our alternate method to make any sense of the question. So when we look at that line, we would describe it as it's a line that crosses the x-axis at -3. So if it crosses the x-axis at -3, then the equation of the line is x equals -3. And really, that's the approach we're using up in the top one here as well. Because this line up above here is crossing the y-axis at 2. So the equation of that line is y equals 2. So anytime you know you're dealing with horizontal and vertical lines and you're trying to find the equation for those lines, it's important to probably avoid y equals mx plus b and just take a look at or get a look at the picture of what the line looks like to come up with the equation. So in this question, when it says find the horizontal line that goes through 2, -3, I usually just go over to the side and I draw a graph, and the graph doesn't have to be a pretty graph, right? I've got my y, I've got my x, and then I'm going to plot the point. So that point is 2, -3. So it goes through this point, and if it's a horizontal line, it goes across. It's like the horizon that you look out at. So I'm not even worried about how straight I draw it here. That's what my line is going to look like. So if I'm going to come up with the equation for that, I have to ask myself, which axis does that line cut? It cuts the y-axis. Where does it cut it at? It cuts it at -3. So that is the equation of that horizontal line. And really, my approach for example 2 is going to be the same. I'm going to draw a picture of what the graph looks like. I've got my y and my x, and over 5 and up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm at this point here. And it's a vertical line, which means that it's coming straight down there. So the equation of that line cuts the x-axis, and it cuts it at 5, so that is the equation of that vertical line. All right, example 3. Find the equation line that goes through -2, 5 and 6, 5. Well, again, it's going to be helpful for me to come up with a picture here. X and Y. And I've got a point at -2, 5. I've got a point there at -2, 5. And I've got a point at 6, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And up to 5. It goes through 6, 5. And now if I'm going to draw my line through those points, now that I've got a picture of it, I can see that it's a horizontal line. It cuts the y-axis at 5. And what you realize is that when they give you 2 points and the y value is 5 in both of them, then that's going to tell you that the equation is going to be y equals 5. But you can always draw a picture of it to make sure that you're on the right track. All right, example 4. Find the equation of the horizontal line and the vertical line that goes through the point -4, 2. So -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2. So there's -4, 2. So I want a vertical line going through that point, and I want a horizontal line going through that point. So there's my point. That's the point -4, 2. So if I do the vertical line first, the vertical line goes through the x-axis at -4. So actually, why don't I just write that actually with the line here. So that's x equals -4 is this line here. And when I do the horizontal line, that's cutting through the y-axis at 2. So there's the equation of the horizontal line. There is the equation of the vertical line. Okay? Oops. I have one more here. So I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to leave this one for tomorrow. If you want to try and graph these before class tomorrow, you certainly can. But either way, we're going to talk about these first off tomorrow in class. Thanks.